clear that we have to be extremely pragmatic when it comes to working with Europeans and also with Britain with the UK on this. President Trump has referred to using tariffs against the world in the context of the electoral campaign. And so that's why we know that in many European capitals and also in the UK, the conversation is ongoing on how to deal in terms of retaliation and what could be different responses to tariffs. So that's why it is important for us to be able to talk to these different foreign ministers. It is my job to coordinate the response. And not only that, we have a very important free trade agreement with Europe, and we want to continue to make sure that Canadians and Canadian businesses can benefit from it.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back. We're going to be talking about Canada and Mexico again. This just keeps rolling around in my head, and I have 1,000 questions, okay? So let's get down to number 47, wants to tariff Canada and Mexico into submission regarding the drug and invasion problem of the migrants coming in. I'm going to start right now by telling you, it's smoke and mirrors. You need to keep your eye on the ball. We've talked about this before. So 47 says that he's going to tariff Canada and Mexico into ending the fentanyl supply coming into the country. In this one particular thing, I get that we've got a bit of a migrant problem here. I'm not going to deny that. But the fentanyl problem, really? People, not Canada, import drugs into the United States through Canada. Same as they do through Mexico, same as they do through China, same as they do through the EU. But I don't see us trying to put any real sum and substance or teeth into the real issue. Why is fentanyl coming into our country? Why is there such an influx of fentanyl? It's cheap, it's easy, and there's a drug addiction problem in the United States. Don't tell too many people that. That's a secret. It's no secret that, we've got one of the biggest countries around geographically, politically, and population-wise. So standing to reason that, we've got people that get drug addicted, and we have a responsibility, shall we say, a social responsibility to resolve that issue. How on earth is forcing Canada and Mexico to look at the fentanyl problem, solving the issue? You haven't fixed the problem inside the country, and I don't see anything going on to do that. There are a couple of small programs. Oh, yeah, you wanted to end federal aid programs going out to the woke issues. Some of those woke issues are the same things that Canada and the European Unions use to help with their drug problems. It's not unique to the United States. It's just unique that we don't really do anything really about it. We blame other people for it, it seems. We want to blame the fentanyl distribution people for our problem. If we weren't consuming it, they wouldn't have a job. Canada and the EU and the United States have what's called harm reduction programs. Most people out there don't know about them. The only reason I know anything about them is because of my work in the past with, shall we say, social groups and law enforcement. The Harm Reduction Act has several parts to it. One of the biggest things that's out there right now is naloxone. I actually go and frequent a restaurant here in my area of upstate New York that is an open-minded place for people to meet and have a great dinner. One of the signs on the wall is naloxone available if needed, just in case someone makes a mistake. It's sad that we have to have those signs there. It's sad that my friends that run that restaurant have to have it available, but it's necessity. There's also what they call a syringe service program. Basically what that is it's an outreach in many different local municipalities and in large cities where there's what's referred to as needle exchanges or safe needle distribution or something of the like, where we can help curb not only the drug problem because we have contact with the people, we can also help, stem the ongoing epidemic of AIDS and other diseases contracted through needle sharing by addicts. I mean, we make them feel alienated. We're not surprised that they need help, but we're surprised when they don't want to come to us and ask us for help, like getting a clean needle because they don't have a drug program that they can get into or don't want to get into. Okay? There's another one out there that's fentanyl test strips. I know it started out with law enforcement and the medical community, but it has now become mainstream to be able to give these type test strips out to the druggies and the junkies that are using this stuff. They can actually use the strips very much like what, most of us that own a pool or want to test water of any kind, we can test strip our water to make sure that it's in balance. Well, they are able to test their drugs to make sure there's no fentanyl in it. Okay? Supervised consumption sites. Now, again, remember, all these things are available all across the EU, all across our neighbors to the north in Canada, and in the United States. Supervised distribution and consumption points. That's a great idea because the community and law enforcement and the medical outreach and the groups that are trying to save these people actually get to be with them. Can't help someone that you turn your back on and ignore. So these sites are very critically important. Okay? But I have to ask, number 47, and this is just a U.S. problem. This isn't a Canadian or a European problem. It's a U.S. problem. Just 48 to 72 hours ago, 47, you tried shutting off all the federal aid programs, which would include FEMA and other things. Now, you were very clear that the Social Security and Medicare wasn't going to be cut off because you kind of need the people of support like me to not want us to be mad at you. But you did cut off all the other federal programs. You did not have a clear answer, nor did your people have a clear answer on whether FEMA and these other related programs, these social programs, and the programs that feed children, and the programs that Head Start programs, and the programs for clothing and food for the underprivileged neighborhoods. You didn't have an answer for all of that. Well, I guess we don't need an answer right now for at least another 14 or 15 days because a federal judge chose to block your efforts at that. You were going to block part of the resolution for the drug addiction in the United States. The one thing that we needed here in the States that Canada and Mexico cannot control, and you wanted to freeze it because you're all worried about the all-holy dollar. By the way, how's your golf game? Because I hear you're still out at Doral with the rest of the Republican House on your policy agenda. The lady that we listened to in the early clip was talking about because of the tariffs, because of things that are partially out of their control, and they have no way of fixing that problem, and they believe that number 47 is going to cut off the program of USMCA and any other trade agreements or tourist agreements going back and forth by imposing across the board unilateral tariffs. She was quite clear in the fact that she was calling on the EU to help their country with their trade, and they were interested in setting up a little bit more trade with them. You know, that sounds an awful lot like what Panama is doing with China. But old 47's railing up against that because he doesn't think that's fair. But he wants to beat them down and wants them to fear him. And now they've chosen not to fear him, to defy him, and seek trade elsewhere. Sounds like a reasonable solution. Well, it's going to hurt us all. There's trade back and forth in the United States and Canada regarding agriculture. Farmers out in the Midwest, this one's pointed at you. Soybeans, corn, and meat, especially pork and poultry. Canada imports a lot of it from us. You need to look at secondary income if you're a farmer out in the Midwest right now. Another thing that they import are trucks and cars and vehicle parts. Yeah, they have an economy just like we do. People buy cars and trucks and they drive them around, and they need parts for repair, and they need to replace those vehicles. They don't really have a huge auto industry of their own, so they look to us, their trade neighbor, for cars and vehicles. The tariffs are going to kind of curtail that. Note to General Motors, Ford, and Stellantis, you're going to need to start looking elsewhere for some money. And oh yeah, there's no money for your electric vehicles. He cut that program already. Canada also imports a significant amount of pharmaceuticals from our companies here in the United States that help their health programs and their pharmaceutical programs and their, I want to call it their social medical situation. I don't know what the proper name of it is, so for my friends up in Canada, if you put a note there what they call it, I would be more than happy to thank you for it. Now, another thing that's really important that we bring in from Canada, and Canadians, if I'm wrong, quote me on it, but I'm pretty sure I'm not wrong, that you guys provide approximately 2 billion barrels a day of Brent crude. Now, the important reason on Brent crude, because that's what we refine gasoline from. Old number 47 wants to keep the petroleum industry going, and he doesn't want the electric car industry out there going. Note to Elon Musk, kiss your $2 billion that helped float your company this year away. So Brent crude can come out of Canada, and it can come off the North Shore area, out off of the UK, kind of like in the Norway area. We do not have reserves underground anywhere where we can drill for the Drill Baby Drill program that produce Brent crude. It's what we need for our refineries. Canada gives us 2 billion barrels a day. The rest of, I believe there's 10 other countries we buy it from, produce just under that 2 billion barrels a day. So if Canada gets upset at us, they cut off half of our gasoline refining crude. So yeah, that's not going to work so well, is it? You know, Canada also imports a lot of other things, like I said, grain and meat products. But one of the big things they give us is soft lumber. You know, stick, a 2x4, plywood materials, things that we make plywood from. Soft lumber for the housing industry that we like to keep going, okay? We also, and this is one of my favorites, we also buy a lot of fish and seafood from them. Salmon, lobster, everything else like that we enjoy here in our country and enjoy at our homes and in our restaurants. Yeah, wave that one goodbye. So I have to ask, who's the winners and the losers in this whole thing with this tariff war that 47 wants to start? And he wants to drive our neighbors and our friends and our allies from the north to the EU. Why would Mexico or Panama want to help out 47 when he's doing the same thing to them? When in truth, the fentanyl problem here in the United States is our own problem to address. Like I said, if there wasn't a market for it, it wouldn't be coming into the country. And the market is the American drug user. Who wins and loses on that? Nobody. And if you look back, which I did this morning, 8 to 9 years ago, I saw video of the same rant that he wanted to tariff Canada and Mexico for everything under the sun, from border crossings to drugs to high prices to them not buying fair shares back in equal trade. Well, that's not how it works. The important point was, 8 to 9 years ago, we were hearing the same rhetoric. It went away for 4 years, and now it's back. Why? I'm going to tell you once again, keep your eye on the ball, okay? Because the grift from the flying monkey circus is ridiculous. With that, folks, thank you for listening. My subscribers over the last week, God, I don't know where you all came from. I am getting comments from, I think it's 9 different cities in Australia. I have at least 13 cities in Canada all wanting to comment all of a sudden. I think it had to do something with the steel and metal exports going on. But either way, all of you, I never thought I would have this kind of a crowd. I just thought it was going to be a little podcast that I'd be able to spout out and try and save democracy from my own little corner of the world. But you're all helping me. 23 different countries have now replied back to me. Thank you. I am truly humbled. If you're not already a subscriber, please join. This podcast can't go on and can't stay out here forever if I don't have the listeners and I don't have the algorithms for YouTube. So I just ask, hit the subscribe button and join me. Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here and good evening.